Hi, everybody. My name is Shaon Shamsul, and welcome to this presentation about the responsible parent penalty. This is the presentation about why your kid is going to miss on thousands of dollars in scholarships, in federal aid. Status quo in this country when people are saving for college funding, it's either they put it in the bank account or they put it in a 529 plan. And I think that works for a lot of people, but there are things that people don't think about. So let's talk about them. Now, before we go into the content, tell me about a time where you followed conventional wisdom and it led you to a bad result. I always ask, do people get rewarded for following the system? My little sister is in college right now and she's getting a comp sci degree. She got one, has zero job prospects, right? Conventional wisdom told her to get a job in computer sci, and she's not able to get a job. A lot of people saved a bunch of money in their 401ks in 2008, and they lost 40% of their assets when the market crashed, right? A lot of people are recommending getting more protein in your diet. Well, people are getting cancer now because of their lack of fiber. And they gain weight, right? So conventional wisdom does not always lead us to the place that's best for us. And so when it comes to finances, that's the case as well. So I want you to imagine this. There is a woman named Shirley, right? She's listening to conventional wisdom. She is a single mother that spent 18 years saving money for her daughter's college. She works a stable office job. Her daughter turns 18 and she decides to go out of state at a college that, costs $38K per year. The daughter received $0 in financial aid, $0 in scholarship, and she ended up getting saddled with a bunch of debt. Why? Financial aid offices check your 529 balance before determining aid. Scholarships check your 529 balances before providing aid. So if you look like you do really, really well and you are saving a lot of money, you're seen as less needy and therefore you get less of a reward, right? Better give that money to somebody in need. That is the logic. That's what I call the responsible parent penalty. You follow the rules, you get punished. Parents are damned if they do, damned if they don't. So this is a great thing to do for your kid, but are there alternative strategies that may help you save money, but also get additional funding from scholarships and federal aid? I would say, and a lot of advisors would say, the potential solution is index universal life, okay? Index universal life policies are policies, insurance policies that have cash value, and it's not counted in federal financial aid formulas. So imagine this, okay? Imagine you get car insurance and you pay $100 a month. That's low for car insurance, I understand. But at the end of the year, you've paid $1,200, right? Instead of that $1,200 never being able to be used again, it's kept in a bank account, and that bank account compounds 4 to 10% every year. What's cool about that is that money, insurance money, is not checked by federal aid bodies or scholarships, right? So you have your money set to the side and it's compounding, but you don't get punished for being a good parent. Now, most life insurance policies are term policies, meaning let's say you do a policy and you do it for 20 years and you pay $100, right? At the end of the 20 years, your $100 that you've paid for 20 years is gone, and you have to apply for a new policy, right? Term is kind of like renting a house. IULs, or index universal life policies, are kind of like owning a house. Every dollar you put towards this type of policy is your dollar, and it grows and you have equity. So it's a little bit more expensive, right? But it's something that you can use for saving and compounding. And by the way, if you want to book a call about how much these policies cost, or you want to get a quote on them, or it was whatever you're comfortable putting in, if you're ready to book an appointment with me, you can go ahead and use this QR code. I'll have it throughout the presentation. But the concept is this: you put money into a life insurance policy. That policy grows 4 to 10% every year, and then you get to use that cash value to pay for a kid's school. So in this alternative universe, theoretically speaking, and this is just for the purpose of education, Shirley is a single mother that spent 18 years saving for her daughter's college. She used an IUL. Her daughter's 18. She decides to go out of state, and she has a private school bill of 38K per year. Shirley's daughter in this scenario gets financial aid and scholarships. Why? Because her mom's stream of income helps her with housing, books, and so many other things because it was stuffed in a vehicle that's not often looked at by these governing bodies. Here's another booking link. But a wrench in this concept is that Shirley's mother passes away while the daughter is in college. So what happens if you pass away and your kid is in college, and let's say you have $20,000, $30,000 saved in a 529? Well, that child gets that money, right? It inherits that money. But because IULs are also life insurance, that child, her daughter, gets a huge lump sum of money, 100K, 200K, 300K. It's up to you how much you want to get. But because of that, it secures her daughter's financial future, her first couple of years of college. She's able to, pay off her bills. She's able to pay off her car. She's able to buy a house. So many different things. So with life insurance, it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of the financial world because you could do so many things with it. Her daughter gets financial support while she's alive, but if she passes away, everything is taken care of. And as a parent that loves your children, don't you want to give them that same opportunity? With that said, IULs are part of a smart, comprehensive financial strategy. They're not the end all be all, but it's a smart strategy to at least hold some of your money. It depends on what you're comfortable with. Now, there are several amazing benefits to IULs, okay? One of the benefits, of course, is that it protects you against market downturns. Let's go back to 2008. People were losing 15, 20, 30% of their total sum. So imagine your kid goes to college, you save $50,000 in a 529 plan, but the market is bad. How much of that did you now lose? With index universal life policies, the money is guaranteed by the life insurance company. So in a bad market, let's say where there's negative 10%, for the rest of the market, the life insurance company will still guarantee you at least zero, meaning you can gain money in this process, but you can never lose it. We've been talking about the impact on FAFSA, need-based aid. They typically do not look at IULs, but also 529 plans, you have to use them for education. If you don't use them for education, you get taxed, and it's a bad situation. With IUL money, you can withdraw that money or access that money tax-free, so you don't pay Uncle Sam and you get all of the other benefits. It's amazing. And you can use it for whatever you want. So if your kid ends up not going to college, for example, you can use it to help you with home renovations. You could use it to help you put them in trade school. With 529s, that is not that easy. Uncle Sam is not going to control your account with 529 with IULs. You can use these strategies for everything, including inheritance or retirement or business funding. So the flexibility you get through an IUL is absolutely amazing. Now let's talk a little bit more about market loss protection because people don't understand how powerful that is. People get 529s because it's all about compound interest in the market. IULs also offer you compound interest, but what is the difference and what is the difference in safety? So I always say that most investments are kind of like an MRI machine. They go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. With life insurance based strategies, financial strategies, it's kind of like a staircase. You either go up or you go flat. So in a bad market, you're flat. You don't lose any money, you don't gain any money. But in a good market, you go up, right? So it's like a staircase. So what happens if you put all of your money into college in a 529 plan and there's a bad market? You could lose a lot of that money. That feels very risky, right? With the IULs, you don't do that. And again, this is not a solution necessarily for everybody, but if you're interested in exploring what a quote looks like for you, book us through the calendar. Now you can get in front of a licensed IUL agent and they will be able to help you with this. Now, IULs, like I said, account always goes up, not down. So with this illustration, you can see what happens when somebody invests in the S&P 500 over the course of years. You'll see that the account goes up and then it goes down. 2002 was a bad year, and then it goes up and then it dips down a lot in 2008. With IULs, typically, this is what the accounts look like. So they continue to go up. And like I said, it's like a staircase movement. So it always goes up or to the side. You don't lose money. And this blue line is like the minimum contract value. So you're going to earn somewhere in between the blue line and the green line. And I think that's absolutely amazing. So what really is interesting about this chart is that it shows you how much additional gains your account needs if you want to recover a loss. So if you look at this box over here, right, change to restore initial value, change from initial value. A 30% loss needs a 43% gain to get back to the initial value. So again, what I'm trying to show you is that you're going to need really, really good years in the market to offset some of those bad years. But with IULs, it's like that staircase. You either gain money or your account stays the same. You do not lose money because the insurance companies who have been around for thousands of years, well, thousands is, hundreds of years, these companies are backing your money. And your money isn't directly in the market. It's in your account, and you get credited based on what the insurance companies themselves are investing in. So all you need to understand today is that you do not lose money. Zero is the hero. You only gain money in an IUL, so it's gonna protect you from bad years. Again, if you want to, start a conversation, get a quote from a licensed agent about this, this is where you book. We can talk a little bit about how much it costs. So backing up here, an IUL is what you put into it, okay? So whatever you're comfortable putting into it is what you should do. If you're putting money into your retirement and other places, you should have some amount of money set aside to put towards a safe growth option. And so this is an example, but it will depend on how much money you put into it and how healthy you are. Now, these are examples of some quotes that our agent, Christine Orris, provided. So these are not quotes that I have run, but depending on the amount of premium that you get a benefit for when you die. And there's also cash value, which is how much the money that you have in cash by the year 18. So in this example, Penny's illustrator ran that if you do a $250 benefit monthly premium, the initial death benefit is $167,000. So that's what happens when you die, what you get when you die. And then the cash value is $91,000. You put in more, it's more. If you put in more, it's more, right? So whatever you're comfortable with, that's what you should be focusing on. But in order for this strategy to work, you have to consistently put in money. So again, this is not a quote. This is just an example of something that our agents ran for somebody else. Your quote is going to be different, so it's important that you set up an appointment and run that quote with us. Again, there's amazing benefits, and so protection against market downturns are some of those amazing benefits. This is an example that if you went with a licensed agent to get your quote, what kind of options that you might have available. And so the money that you're able to save and to compound as a result of the strategy is truly amazing. But what's interesting to note is that in order for that to happen, you got to save for a little bit, okay? So more examples, and this example, if somebody put in, $1,000 on a monthly basis, which obviously is for somebody who's very wealthy, by the end of their 18th year, they might have a surrender value of $400K to help with college. And, with interest getting so crazy, that's something that you have to think about. There's cost of living increases every year. and it compounds, right? So by the time that your kids turn 18, God knows how much college is going to cost. So in conclusion, if you put that money in a 529 plan, there's benefits to doing that. But things that you have to keep in mind, if they need the money early, or if you need the money early because you have a family emergency, or something happens to your roof, there's a penalty on that money, and then you pay taxes on the money. That doesn't happen with IUL access to the money. If your kid doesn't go to college, money's trapped. Too bad. Has to go to education. You have to either give it to somebody else or roll it over. It's going to be hard. But if they're not going to college, sorry, you saved that for no reason. If you need the money for something else, roof, like for example, an emergency, a car, you're handcuffed. And if the market tanks during school, the tuition is still due. So you lose 15, 20%. Well, too bad. You still have to use that money. And then once you take the money out, you lose more, right? IULs don't have these problems. If you want a copy of the illustrations that our life insurance agents have put together, here it is. And here's another link to our calendar. What questions do you guys have over any of these topics? Okay, thank you so much for your time. This is a recommendation from our life insurance specialist about the company that we use. There's over 300 companies that provide IUL support. So whatever you want is according to you. And I just want to emphasize, you should get a quote, because your health and your income is what determines what you're able to get from an IUL. So what I just showed you is what somebody ran for another agent. A licensed agent needs to run those quotes directly for you. So if you want that, meet with the agent and you'll be able to get that quote, okay?